I plopped down onto the driver's seat of my blue Sentra. I was slumping forward and kind of leaning slightly towards my right. I froze. Everything was quiet, still. Then the seriousness of the situation started to set in. I lifted my lifeless leg, which was twice as heavy as normal, and slowly pressed in the clutch. At the same time, my face sort of contorted, revealing some of the emotional pain while I turned the key and started up the engine. Just then I noticed the last few notes of Billy Duffy's guitar receding back into the speakers as the Cult's big neon glitter came to a quick end. A few seconds of hiss, then that sinister riff in high-pitched lead pushed back out of those same speakers as their title track Love mocked me, filling my car and echoing out into the small neighborhood as I backed out of her driveway. A flash of my eyes in the rearview mirror caused my throat to tighten and my stomach to sour. Then turning north on 56th Street towards a street called Dixoletta Drive, on that bumpy dirt road, sadness quickly faded and dejection went away as my face got hot and I repeatedly banged my fist on the steering wheel through squinted eyes and grit teeth. I messed up! I messed up! Hello everyone, thank you very much for being here and welcome to My Life Through Music. My name is Bishop Friesch, and in this My Life Through Music project, I talk about the songs and music that were either there at the time or describe thoughts, feelings, or emotions I was experiencing at those particular places and at those particular times. And yes, I know that I mentioned the Cult and their song Love because I had to. I mean, it was right there. But the song that I want to focus on and the song that represents these memories is Sworn and Broken by the Screamin' Trees, released in 1996. This song has a melancholy feel to it as the guitar and the strings in the background, I think, really reflect the sorrow and the heartache of the words that were written to it. And no doubt, Mark Lanigan's voice truly does capture it beautifully. Speaking of sorrow, we did, sadly, lose Mark Lanigan, the lead singer of the Screamin' Trees, earlier this year, and I was very saddened by it, as I am every time we lose a creator of music. May they all rest in peace. So, here I am, 33 years ago, having just left a tenant's girl's house, and I'm slowly driving home on these desolate dirt roads. I mean, I could almost reach out and touch the branches of the Palo Verde trees or the creosote bushes and the different type of cacti, from the desert. And as I was driving, I didn't even try to avoid the holes and the dips and the washboards that rocked and shook my car. I just didn't care. But by the time I reached the blacktop, I had resolved to get her back. My conscience was screaming at me that I had to fix this and I had to make it right. But, I mean, what could I do? within a few seconds, I mindlessly turned my car around and started back towards her house. But then I hit the brakes and I thought to myself, that would just make things worse. So I turned my car around and I started home. And then my eyes raised real quick and I thought to myself, what if I just called her when I got home? But, I mean, what could I say? What could I say? I'm sorry? I mean, that just doesn't cut it in a situation like this. But I thought and thought as I drove home, but nothing came to mind. A few minutes later, I parked my car in front of our slump block house. Letting the door close behind me softly, I went straight into my bedroom and I lazily sat down on the edge of my bed and I let a lamenting sigh pass through my loose lips as I looked around my room while my waterbed kind of slowly made me rise and fall with the waves. My eyes were darting around the room because I really didn't know what to focus on. I really didn't know what to think. My mind was racing. And I already started to feel that helpless emptiness inside my stomach. I don't know, maybe it's loneliness. But I know you felt it before. You know what it feels like. And it was horrible. But I didn't know what to do. So I just sat there on the end of my bed with my chin just, cupped in my hands. You ever been there before? Where the world and life just suddenly slows down and catches up to you. And everything finally sinks in. It seems like the world that used to be so big, the world that took its cues from you were on top of the world, which you seemingly were the master of. Well, that world has finally shrunk and now has made you the subject to its disciplinary whims. Sitting there, I finally looked at my phone. I finally had the nerve to look at my phone, which was hanging on the wall less than an arm's length away from me. Should I? I hesitantly reached over and grabbed it, and I held it face up in my lap for a second, and then just unconsciously, I dialed her number. But halfway through, I stopped, and I hung it up. And I let my body just fall back. A few minutes later, deep in thought, the electronic ringtone jolted me out of my catatonic state. I lethargically sat up and I answered it. Hello? B! Oh, hey, what's up? Yo, don't forget about tonight. What's tonight? Remember, I told you last night, dude. My parents are still out of town. Dude, we're partying tonight. It's going to be awesome. A lot of people. It's going to be good, man. You got to be over here. I paused for a second. You going to be there, right? He said. Again, silence. Brah, what is wrong, man? You all right? Yeah. My voice raised a little bit. Kind of reassuring. Yeah, I'm good. Then you're going to be there tonight, right? Yeah. I'll be there. After hanging up the phone, again, I let the top half of my body just fall back onto my waterbed. And then, lying there, staring up at the ceiling fan, I thought to myself, is this who I am? Or is this what I've become? Quoting from the song, "Winter's setting in again, and it feels like the end is near." End quote. Winter, a commonly used metaphor when one wants to show periods of time where things slow down, become cold and still. On that morning, my life definitely slowed down and it became very still. And even though we don't get much of a winter out here in Arizona, for me, emotionally and spiritually, the frost of winter was setting in. The end of her and I was near. And on that day, my life slowed way down, became very still, and it was very, very cold. Quoting again from the song, "Come January, I swear, this world won't be the one that we once lived on. Took an oath, another promise, sworn and broken. All that's gone before you changed." End quote. And of course, I'm looking at myself right in the mirror as I wrote this. The bottom line is I had made a promise and I had broke that promise. And because of that, as the song, the world that I would be living in from that moment on would definitely not be the one that, again, quote, "we once lived on," end quote. More importantly, and this is the worst, in the song it says, "Oh, something good has gone and left you. It's another tear, one more denial," end quote. Man, is it the tears that bring denial? Or does denial cause the tears? I don't know. But for me, the prospect of being alone and forced to be by myself and not have somebody there. And even though we were on again, off again at times throughout high school, despite all that, we had always and very quickly found our way back to each other. I mean, regardless of if we were together, quote unquote, together at any particular moment or not, we were always there for each other. And for a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, as I was at the time, to have a friend, a partner, someone you can trust, to be there with you through all the challenges of growing up, especially during the teenage years. You know, someone you can talk to all the time about anything, who could always be counted on for anything. Looking back, I mean, you just can't put a price on that. And now all of a sudden, this person is gone. When this happens, we quickly come to the understanding of how important it was to have them in our lives, that they should be cherished instead of taken for granted. But unfortunately, it's only then we realize that, again, quoting from the song, the line, "something good has gone and left you," end quote. And it's at this point where we no longer feel and notice their presence. And we start feeling, well, quite alone. Quite alone. What did I learn from this? What did I learn from this experience? Man, I learned a lot. Primarily, what this did was, as I just alluded to, it made me appreciate having somebody truly there in my life, whatever age. Someone who wanted the best for me, and she did. Someone who was good for me, and she was. Have you ever been in a similar situation? Have you ever messed up? Messed up to the point where someone had to let you go, someone had to leave you when you were the blame, when they didn't have a choice, when it was your fault? I've been there lots of times. Left you to consider what you've done or what you've been doing. It's not comfortable. What happened in that situation? What did you do? And what was it like for you? Did you do anything about it? And how did you come out of it? And how were you changed? For me, it would take time, some alone time, all for the better, as I hope to eventually illustrate. This is why I need to thank the Screaming Trees for this powerful yet beautiful song. I'll put a link to it below as I encourage you to listen to it. Or just go to some of the many other ways or platforms that you access your music today and check it out. Along with some of the other songs I will include to kind of bring the entire emotion and situation together. And there's no doubt that it may sting a little bit. You may even find yourself rubbing your arms as a slight chill sets in, as those memories come back, as you think about it. But as always, I want to thank you for your time. I know it's valuable. So, what do I do now? Would I take advantage of the time of reflection? Would I make any changes to my life? Would she ever forgive me? Would we ever find our way back to each other like we had so many times before? Would she ever be a part of my life again? Or would I continue down the path of destruction which put me here in the first place? I'll touch on these things and what it was like when somebody who played a critically important role in my life was suddenly gone. Next time, when I talk a little more about my life through music. I was at a mall one day a while back, and I was standing under one of those, those department store speakers. And I remember I was looking at some clothes. I think it was pants or slacks. I can't remember. And I remember this very song, Sworn and Broken, was playing. Just quietly and anonymously in the background. And I paused. I stopped. I literally stopped, and I just stood there for a second. First, kind of shocked that it was even being played. I mean, it's not what you would consider a mainstream song. But I just stood there, taking it in, just listening. A few moments later, someone who worked there was suddenly just standing, right next to me, and she said, "Do you need help finding anything?" And I was, kind of caught off guard because mentally I wasn't there. I had been transported, somewhere else back in time, and then after a second I said, "Oh, no, thank you. I'm just looking." And she smiled and walked off as I just stood there, kind of just resting my arms on the rack of clothes. And I just listened until the song was over. Music. Dude, I remember seeing this video to I Nearly Lost You on MTV. Man, what a rockin' jam, man. And I went back and I checked it out, and I'm telling you, watching him again, man, it gave me goosebumps. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. My life it a take? Let's find out. Let's see what we got.